Hey guys, Negative9 here, how is it going everybody, and welcome to another Top 5 video. So in this Top 5 video, we will be going over the Top 5 mysteries in Guild Wars 2. And the reason I'm sort of doing this video is because there have been a lot of interesting storylines hinted at ever since Heart of Thorns launched, specifically with the introduction of the new Raid Wing. So I hope you guys find this as interesting as I do, and let's get started. Alright, so at number 5 we have the mystery of Rytlock and the Mists. Rytlock has always been an underrated character in the game, in my opinion at least, because there's so much mystery surrounding him. We have almost no information about his background, and for some unexplained reason, Rytlock wields the legendary sword Sahothan, which, if you don't know, is a powerful, holy, human artifact of Orrian origin, given to Ascalonian royalty as a gift of peace. So why would a Char be wielding this legendary human sword? In Living Story Season 2, Sahothan was sucked into the mists when Rytlock tried to lift Ascalon's curse, and he disappeared right after it into the mists. Now, in the very first mission of Heart of Thorns, if you've played it, you'll know Rytlock reappears, except this time he is very different. He's very different than when he entered the mists. He comes back with a blindfold and a strange new mist magic. Again, so far we have no explanation about anything he experienced in the mists to this point, so we have absolutely no idea what happened to him while he's in there and how he became a revenant. When you ask him about the story, all he says is he'll tell us later, which is a pretty lame excuse to not explain anything about him. This surely has to go down as a major mystery in my eyes, and it's really one that I can't wait to hear more about. Number 4 is actually my personal favorite, and that is the Wizard's Tower. So, the Wizard's Tower is a floating structure that once resided off Keswick's Peak during Guild Wars, at the central southern edge of modern Keswick's Hills in Guild Wars 2. It has since been relocated by its new owner Isgaren to the southeastern edge of Keswick's Hills in an area called Wizard's Fief. It was once rumored to house magical tomes and artifacts, and according to the townsfolk of Garenhof, a nearby town, Isgaren is a wizard who resides in it and supposedly owns the floating castle. Isgaren is praised by many villagers of Garenhof for providing elemental guardians to protect the town and its people. So you might be thinking, oh, this Isgaren guy sounds pretty cool, he's helping the people out and stuff. However, the townsfolk also mention that those who enter the tower never return. That's not suspicious or anything. The citizens of Garenhof might not be so appreciative of their Lord Isgaren if they knew where those elementals were coming from. But the real mystery is Isgaren and his motives to doing this. I think Wooden Potatoes did a really good Guild Wars 2 mysteries way back when he used to do these on the Wizard's Tower, where he goes back into the history of it and talks a little bit about what could be going on and how it could relate to the story. So I'm going to link that here. So if you want more backstory and more information on the Wizard's Tower and possibly a theory, go ahead and check that video out. At number 3 we have the Scepter of Orr. The Scepter of Orr is one of 2 legendary staffs that were created prior to the Exodus of the Gods. The Scepter and its counterpart, the since-destroyed Staff of the Mists, were each given to one of the great nations of the world, although which weapon went where has since been forgotten. The weapons were intended to offer protection, but their power corrupted their bearers and unleashed horrors upon the land. Eventually, the 6 gods were able to intervene by striking down both kings and sealing each weapon within its bearer's tomb. Afterward, the scepter was moved to Orr, where it remained until it went missing just before the Cataclysm in 1071 AE. The scepter next appeared in 1072 AE when the White Mantle recovered it from Majesty's Rest and kept it from the invading undead until it was stolen by the Shining Blade from the Temple of the Unseen. As a part of their effort to counter the White Mantle, the rebels managed to arrange to give the scepter to Vizier Kilbron, who was thought to be a survivor of the Cataclysm. In fact, Kilbron was a powerful undead lich who wanted the staff so he could control the Titans. After Kilbron's defeat at Abaddon's Mouth, the weapon was spirited away before it could be destroyed by the volcano. After the defeat of the Great Destroyer, the human necromancer Livia sought out and recovered the scepter and had it in her possession for some time. While the Staff of the Mists was known to bend the fabric of the universe to the will of its user, less has been recorded about the scepter's powers. Kilbron directed the Titans with it, and he also claimed that it could be used to control the undead. It was last seen influencing souls and the wielder's energy. Furthermore, Livia, its last known possessor, lived for a century and a half after finding it, though whether that's tied to the scepter is currently unknown. So, the scepter is one of the best mysteries in Guild Wars 2 in my opinion, because we don't know where it is, and we don't know if it even exists anymore, and of course it's this powerful, legendary scepter weapon. A lot of people think that this was supposed to be covered in the cancelled Guild Wars 1 expansion, Guild Wars Beyond, which was supposed to tie the two games' stories together, and unfortunately this never came out for whatever reason. The scepter itself is sort of like a hot potato, like it's just this artifact that's been swapped between so many people, so many different organizations over the years, that we really have no idea who would take it or even have it at this point, because a lot of people thought it would be part of the Zaitan storyline, which of course never happened, which was actually quite a surprise because it mentioned talking about controlling the undead, so a lot of people thought that was definitely where it was going to be involved, but now we have absolutely no idea, and it doesn't seem to tie into the current story that well, so this is definitely a mystery to be continued later. At number 2, we have the uncategorized fractal in Rata Novus. So this is one of the more recent mysteries in Guild Wars 2, coming only with the introduction of Heart of Thorns, and it is the mystery involving the recently discovered city of Rata Novus. Rata Novus is an old Asuran city built sometime between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 by the Gallmancer Zin. This underground Rata had advanced lighting techniques that funneled surface daylight deep into the earth, providing light for the city. Despite this typically advanced Asuran technology, when we come across the city in Heart of Thorns, it is completely empty. It is destroyed with no signs of life whatsoever. All its previous inhabitants at this point are presumed dead, and when I went to Rata Novus for the first time, I really didn't appreciate how much of an amazing and eerie find this was. I mean, how can an entire city's population be wiped out in such a manner? Well, we know now that the city itself is built on top of one of 3 large leyline hubs in the Maguma jungle, the others being where Mordremoth and Tarir are located. The draw of this leyline energy attracted large amounts of chalk, which are insectoid creatures that seem to have evolved mechanisms to integrate leyline energy into their biology, which is pretty interesting in itself. This eventually caused the downfall of the city before it was overrun by the chalk in 1173 AE. The last Asuran occupants set the city's defense system to attack any intruders it could before they were finally overwhelmed. Without maintenance, the city's power eventually ran out and became inactive. You may be wondering though, if this really happened, surely there would be bodies and surely some Asura would have escaped the chalk or something. You know, you'd think we would have heard about this whole city being wiped out. But we haven't, and we have absolutely no signs of any Asura dead or alive at this point. Now, this is already quite an interesting mystery as it is, but there's potentially a bit more. Now, this underground Rata Novus has been linked heavily to the uncategorized fractal in the Fractals of the Mists. And if you want to know how Rata Novus specifically ties into the uncategorized fractal, I highly recommend you go check out a video from Doror that he did on this exact subject. So I'm going to link that right here, and if you want to learn more about Rata Novus and a cool theory on what could have happened to it, go ahead and click that video. And finally, at number 1, we have the Bloodstone. So the Bloodstone is a major magical artifact in Guild Wars history, and we've actually recently got some interesting story that could be leading to the Bloodstone, hopefully in the future, specifically regarding the raids that were recently implemented. So, according to Randall Greyston in the ruined city of Orr, the original Bloodstone was a powerful and large stone that the Seers created to contain magic that was not corrupted by the Elder Dragons. When the 6 human gods arrived on Tyria and established Orr, they gathered multiple ancient magical artifacts, including the Bloodstone, into their city. In 1 BE, Abaddon used the Bloodstone to gift magic to all the races of Tyria. However, because magic was abused and it caused many wars and casualties, the human king Doric pleaded to the gods to end the bloodshed. The human gods agreed, the massive stone was sealed with King Doric's blood, hence the name, and split into 5 pieces to limit the race's ability to use magic. The first 4 segments rule over its respective school of magic: preservation, aggression, denial, and destruction. The 5th fragment, the keystone, is required if one were ever to make the Bloodstones one again. Once separated, the Bloodstones were tossed into the largest volcano on the Ring of Fire, Abaddon's Mouth. Before the human gods left in the Exodus of the Gods, they entrusted Doric's bloodline with the duty of protecting the Bloodstones. Because the 4 schools of magic are separated, no individual is capable of utilizing all forms of magic, which is of course why we sort of see professions in Guild Wars 2 and in Guild Wars 1. After some time, Abaddon's Mouth erupted and it sent the 5 Bloodstones throughout Tyria. One landed in the caldera of the volcano, while the other landed in the Maguma jungle, in a place now known as Bloodstone Fen, which very interestingly we seem to be heading towards in the raids. A third crashed through the Shiver Peak Mountains and resides in the Bloodstone caves within the mountains. The locations of the last 2 are still to this day unknown. Centuries ago, when the White Mantle were in power over Kryta, the Mursat utilized the Bloodstones along with their soul batteries in order to power the door of Kamali and keep the Titans at bay. Each of the Bloodstones have an effect on the area around them, such as the aura of the Bloodstone and the curse of the Bloodstone. The second of those, however, may have been caused by the soul batteries on top of the Bloodstones, as it is said that those killed on top of the Bloodstones cannot be resurrected, and the soul batteries take in the souls of those killed on the Bloodstone. So this is very interesting because it could have some relation to the literal river of souls we see in the first raid wing. And interestingly enough, before the release of Guild Wars 2, Jeff Grubb, one of the lead writers of Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 1, said that the Bloodstone's fate will not be revealed in the initial release of Guild Wars 2, which we know of course, but may have an influence on future expansions. And of course, this being the first expansion, seems to line up pretty well. So the Bloodstone seems to definitely be in their sights in the future, and I think we could be getting a resolution to this mystery fairly soon. Alright guys, that's about it for this top 5 video. I hope you really enjoyed, because there is a lot of interesting storylines in there. Definitely go check out more information about all of these storylines. I tried to keep it as brief and sort of summarize all these mysteries as much as possible, because I really honestly could talk for ages about every single one of these mysteries. So of course go look up some more information on your own if you really are interested as well. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.